Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's a surprise show because guess what? There was surprise, unexpected news today. Everybody obviously at this point has already heard that Mascherano is out. So we'll talk about that a little bit tonight and get your thoughts. If you want to leave a voicemail, you can do that at 786-474-4435. And here we go. Where's the So we can get rid of that one and throw it up there. So there's the phone number, 786-474-4435. If you want to leave that voicemail, you can go ahead and do it. We already got one in there. So, yeah, leave a voicemail if you want. But also, we obviously want your chats and everything like that. Who you think might be coming in? Do you think this was a right decision? All that kind of stuff. Seems a little bit of a surprise, but yeah, let's get right into it. Let me get rid of that for now. And yeah. Anyways, I'm thrown off sometimes when Ed's not here, but he's in the chat. So let's say hi to some of you guys in the chat. First off, we see One World, One Goal is here. INCF 1773. Who's next? Kevin Gonzalez is here. Sport Shorts. Yep. Personal reasons. We're going to get into the personal reasons. Look who's here. Look who's here. Uncle Ed's here. All right. So, and here. Oh, yeah. Mr. Krabs checking in. Our last two head coaches didn't get fired. They left. Very weird. So, yeah, let's first just go through the official announcement and just go from there. Mascherano just months ago helps us win an MLS Cup, and quite surprising that he's choosing to leave. They say maybe choosing to leave, but it says here that I want to let everyone know for personal reasons I have decided to end my tenure as head coach of Inter Miami in such a short season. At this point, there's only been 2 home games, and he's already walking away. What is it? 7 games, I think, in total. Not a bad record. In 3rd place in the East, within striking distance, no problem. So it is a bit of a surprise. And look, if it's personal reasons, I'd say, kind of unprofessional in a sense, right? You have a job, you finish the job. Unless, of course, there's a death in the family. And if there is, then, anything negative I say, I'm sorry. And I take it all back. But I don't believe it. I don't think so. Not for 1 minute. He says he also wants to thank the fans. Javier, here we say Javier will forever be a part of the club's history, will always hold a special place in Inter Miami's CF family, and blah, 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 blah. In the interim, Guillermo Hoyos, the sporting director, will assume the role of the first team head coach for the upcoming matches. So Hoyos has coaching experience. He's considered the Messi's football father. Some people say godfather. Some people say it's father, what have you. He's tied to Messi, of course, like everybody else. But, there's a lot of fishy things here. So one of the fishy things, like we all kind of figured that Tata Martino, for personal reasons, was fired. And I think it's no different here. That we have a very aggressive club. They want to win. They stated the fact that the goal was Champions Cup, flunked out in the first round, embarrassed, haven't gotten a win in their home. So I think being the club that is pushing for trophies all the time, but they're making decisions quick, which maybe is too quick. I am surprised that look. I've never been a huge Mascherano fan, but I do feel like this was really quick. At times, I said, okay, maybe he's starting to convince me here and there. But overall, his tactics a lot of time are just, the kitchen sink. We're just going to throw everything at it and just see what happens. Let's just Messi do his magic. Let's just give him a lot of people to get the ball to, right? And it doesn't always work. One World One Goal says Javier Morales can take over if Hoyos doesn't work as temporary too. They said the entire coaching staff is gone. And here, let's go back. Let's go back to this right here. I want to show you something. This I found interesting. This is me just goofing off, looking around. You go to the page for the club page, go to technical staff, you click that, and what do you see? Nothing. The page has been taken down. We have been megged. There's nobody in there for the coaching staff. They obviously pull the page down to remove a bunch of people. I'm not so sure that Morales survives. In all honesty, I agree. One World, he makes sense to be the interim head coach. He's done it before. So it makes sense that it would be him. But I fear that even he is gone. Like, they have done a clean sweep. They've gotten rid of the entire coaching staff, is what I think. At least that's what it looks like. But obviously, in the days to come, we'll find out. Because look, if they appointed him as interim head coach before, it makes sense to do it again. But they're not. They're putting in Hoyos. So at the end of the day, to me, what this says, this is 100% Messi's the coach. Messi's calling all the shots. They just need someone to stand on the sidelines. Just need someone to stand there. That's it. As oh yeah, Mr. Krabs says, number one priority of this team was CONCACAF Champions Cup. We're already out. That's a fireable offense. But if that's the case, why didn't they fire him right away? Unless they right away went and started talking to people behind his back, and just said, hey, and now they're at the point where they're close to making a deal with somebody. Do they make a deal with somebody soon? Or do they wait until after the World Cup where maybe there's more coaches available? I don't know. I mean, we'll I guess time will tell. Jay Vasquez says, both of our last coaches referred to personal reasons for leaving. Tata was back after a year. Is it the stress of Inter Miami, lofty expectations, issues with the front office? No, I think they were fired. I think they were fired for didn't have the results. They didn't have the results. And look, I'm not the only one that feels that way. If you look here, Dax McCarty, he is, if you don't know, an MLS kind of legend, playing a lot of years with FC Dallas, played in Nashville, played in Atlanta. So now a Apple analyst for MLS on Apple. Dax McCarty says, if you believe Tata Martino, fresh off the best regular season in MLS history, and Javier Mascherano, fresh off winning MLS Cup 4 months ago, decided to just up and leave due to personal reasons only, I've got some oceanfront property to sell you in Nebraska. So even somebody in the know doesn't believe it. I mean, he says in another tweet later on that this is all speculation. He has no actual, inside information. But managing the talent, expectations, and goals of a club like Inter Miami, Dax continues, is extremely difficult. We may never know the full reasons for why these guys left, but whoever comes in next has to understand the gravity of what they're dealing with. So they're never going to tell us. We're never going to know. Look, I almost kind of look at like the whole Alonso situation that our very first coach, he was they mutually agreed to kind of part ways. This is kind of like the same thing. It's just a nicer way of doing it. We mutually agreed. So, you're not the only one that was truly fired was Phil Neville. Nader. Tata in. Tata's got a job. Tata's in Atlanta. I don't think it's going so great though right now. So, Andrew Wiebe, another MLS employee, says definition of it's a recent results business at clubs with highest expectations. CCC early exit and home draws ain't gonna do it. Big personalities, big goals, big bombshells. Miami gonna Miami. So Andrew Wiebe also basically coming out and saying he does not buy the fact that this is just personal reasons. These are guys that work for MLS and are still saying there is no way in hell it's for personal reasons. You don't walk away from this job for personal reasons, right? Unless there was some sort of sickness and things like that that you may have heard. Now, there was a rumor out there that Ed was telling me about. There was a rumor that his wife didn't want to move to Miami, and so that there were some weren't happy in that regard. Who knows if that was true, because I tried to do a little research on that, and it just says that that is a rumor out there but cannot be confirmed, and it just could be clickbaity nonsense, right? So don't know if any of that is there. Now, this is just funny. One World, One Goal saying, Peter, did you see the MLS Reddit rumor that Mascherano went to Saudi Arabia national team alongside USA director today, who left? Yeah, that's obviously just jokes. But yeah, the director for the U.S. bailed. So I don't think. Lee says, no chance. He got fired. Exactly. He got fired. Kevin Gonzalez, who left a voicemail, so we're going to get to that in a second. Peter, if your assumption is correct, it sounds a lot like Chinalia with Cosmos. After Pele left, Chinalia ran that team behind the scenes, and Coach Eddie Firmani did the bidding for Giorgio. Man, Kevin going old school there. Nader says they should bring in Henry. He'd be great. And Francisco says Henry is in line to coach a French national team after the World Cup. I've heard it was Zidane, like you're saying, or is it Zidane? I've heard that Zidane is the one that's in line. So, hey, let's go to the one voicemail that we have so far. Let's check that out.
It's time for your voicemail.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Kevin Gonzalez up in Palm Beach County. Hope that everybody's well. What a shocker today, huh? Well, I guess One World, One Goal predicted this, but I was a bit shocked. But to be honest, I'm not surprised. After what happened in the CONCACAF Champions League and losing to Nashville, he was basically a dead man walking afterwards. And as one would say, the writing was basically on the wall. That loss to Nashville was huge because we lost an opportunity to play one of the all-time great clubs of Mexico, Club America, here in the brand new stadium. God knows how much money the club would have lost they did lose on gate take. And then you also factor in the fact that we essentially haven't won a home game this year because 2 draws at the new stadium. It's been a crummy start to our new home. My personal opinion is that he was basically asked to make certain concessions with regards to his on-field personnel management. I saw certain things the other night when I was at the game, which I didn't agree with. And again, he's the coach. I'm not. But like I said, I'm not surprised that this happened. And, we just have to move on, continue to support the club. Hopefully, Guillermo will right the ship, so to speak, and we'll see what happens this coming weekend in Denver and then following that in Salt Lake. Hope everybody's well. Great show as always. Talk to you guys later. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah. Dead man walking after exiting the Champions Cup. I am just curious how quickly did they already kind of mentally make their decision? Did they make their decision right after the CONCACAF Champions Cup exit, or was it all right? We finished that. Now let's get back to MLS. Oh, and it's not looking great because at the end of the day, it's not looking that bad in MLS either. Like, I, again, was not the biggest Mascherano fan, but it does feel, if he was fired, it does feel a little early. I would, only reason you do it now is you got somebody in the wings. To me, that's the only reason you got somebody lined up and it's in the wings. Otherwise, you give them a little more time. We're not doing bad. We haven't lost since that LAFC game, I think. We're getting a lot of ties, and so, it's not the end of the world. You just let them, play it out a little bit and see if they can figure things out. What I think is, I don't know, is it unfair? Maybe. Let's talk about this. Is it unfair that he clearly is going to take the blame for Rodrigo de Paul playing poorly? I mean, when I say poorly, he's good on the... Oh, we got another voicemail. He's good on the attack, bad on defense. He's going to be held accountable for Dane St. Clair not being the, MLS goalkeeper of the year like he was last year. He's going to be held accountable for Berterame taking this many games to score a goal. So he's going to be held accountable for all those different things. And is that fair? He doesn't necessarily pick the players. Obviously, he has some input, but he is not the sporting director. He doesn't necessarily pick the players. He's given the players. I'm sure he has a lot of input, but he's given the players to work with, and then he's got to figure it out. But if Berterame is not playing well, is that necessarily Mascherano's fault? Is it tactics? Because I think I say that a lot on this show, is that sometimes I think when we blame things like on our defense all the time, which defense does make mistakes, but I think sometimes it's tactics because they push up so far and then everybody just kind of breezes through our midfield. So that part would definitely be on him, but I don't know. He's being held accountable for a lot of things that I just wonder if they're fully his fault. Anyways, let's go to the next voicemail I see that just came in.
Hey, Peter and Uncle Ed and all the great fans. Kev, thank you for the shout out. I agree with your comments. Yes, when I said this might be a rebuilding year, I didn't realize they were going to take it to heart and fire the coach I think I just said that yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago. Anywho, as Ed would say, this is just too much drama for your mama. Always a telenovela. I don't really have a prediction. But I do predict that the team will bounce back and start winning. You always get a coaching win. I mean, you always get players to win after a coaching bump, no matter who it is. Okay, peace out. Love the show.
All right, well, on Sunday you said rebuilding One World, and I told you you're wrong. Maybe you're not wrong. Maybe it does become that, but you're not the highest payroll team and say you're rebuilding. So that's not it. We're still not rebuilding. Hey, let's take a second and take a break here in the middle of the show, do it a little bit different, and say a thank you to our sponsor, and that is Caneswear. Caneswear is located in Davie, Florida, just south of 595 on University Drive. This is where you go to get all your great Inter Miami gear. Support a local business. Mom and pop shop. Go support them. They need your support. And if Davie, Florida is too far for you to drive, go to caneswear.com. All orders over $99 ship for free. So go check them out. All right. So who are we going to bring in? That's the big question. And how soon? That is a question I guess we don't really know. But who are we going to bring in? The two big names that keep popping up, and they've been mentioned for a long time, are Gallardo and Xavi. So they're both available. Gallardo and Xavi. I think more people that I've seen, I was watching Twitter a little bit today, or X, and it seemed that more people were hoping for Xavi. But Gallardo could be good, right? I mean, here, Seek is saying, I've seen people asking for Xavi to manage us. That's what I'm seeing as well. Now, there was also that guy from Club America. What was his name? I Googled him earlier and I forgot his name already. There was the guy from Club America, Brazilian coach, that they were interested in about 10 months ago. That was about May of last year. There was rumors about them being interested in the middle of the season. So, Mascherano being on the hot seat's nothing new. That guy, I think, is still with Club America, so you'd have to buy him out if they really wanted him. But Gallardo and Xavi are available. Thought being that Xavi, would he come to MLS? Is he too big for MLS? I see Nader mentioning someone like David Moyes. So like British coaches. Okay, that makes sense because of the David Beckham connection, but does that make sense with our such, Latin American, South American vibe within the team? I don't know. I would be surprised. The one person that I would be interested in, and Mr. Krabs does not agree with me. I would be interested, but I also say there's no way in hell it happens. And that is Wilfred Nancy. He says, I heard people throwing around Wilfred Nancy's name, and I say, heck no. To me, I say, heck yeah. He was, great in Montreal. Turned Montreal into a competitor. They didn't win anything, but they were a good team under his guidance for the short time that he took them over. Then got his job in Columbus, wins a MLS Cup. He flunked out over in Europe. And that definitely will count against him. If he comes back to MLS, it's probably not an Inter Miami high, one of the hottest jobs in the league. High profile is what I'm trying to say. Probably not, but I would love to see it. But I think there is no way in hell this team looks at him. He's not a global brand, type of thing. Let's see. What else? If you guys are yelling at a new Wiseman from Atlanta saying he couldn't handle the heat. Marine Babe 2012 says, why did Jordy really leave? Exactly. There could be some internal issues. Jordi Alba had signed a new contract and then decided to, I don't want to do it. Was there more to it? I always felt like there was. I always felt like there was a little more to that story. Mr. Krabs is throwing in some random names. Mateus Almeida, Argentine, isn't coaching at the moment. Okay. Look, here's the thing with this ownership group. They could surprise us and pick up a name from out of nowhere. I don't think, was Mascherano really ever on anybody's radar as being the head coach, other than, he's a friend of Messi. There's, could Iniesta come out? He's a friend. I don't know if he's working. He's a friend of Messi's too, right? You just got to go looking who's on Messi's Rolodex. Remember the Rolodex? Who's on his Rolodex? As far as Nancy, Sean Callan says, Celtic thing was on Celtic, not Nancy, but also Henry's has called Nancy one of the best coaches he has ever worked with. Again, yeah, I'm all in on Nancy. I think he would be great. I've seen this name as well. A new Weissman saying Busquets as manager with Jordi Alba as an assistant. I haven't heard the Jordi Alba. I get that's a joke. But I have seen people actually throwing out the possibility of a Busquets becoming a manager. I don't want a first-time manager. Let's be a serious club, and let's get somebody with real credentials. I don't want another Phil Neville getting his first real opportunity. Another Mascherano getting his first real opportunity. I think Tata has been our best coach so far. It should not have been pushed out. I had issues with him at times, but you have issues with every coach. There is not, Sean says, AI picked Mascherano. Hey, I've been using AI a lot lately. It's taken over all of our jobs, folks. Revelo says, do you think a new coach equals new players? Not necessarily. No. There is the rumor about Casemiro coming. We did a separate video about that. And there is a report in the Daily Post that he has been offered a 2-year deal from Inter Miami. I don't know how much, do you take the Daily Post. Is it legit? You take it with a grain of salt. But here's the Daily Post article where they say that according to a football transfer expert Nicolo Shira, Inter Miami is talking with Brazil International for a possible transfer this summer, and contract until 2028. So 2-year deal potentially. I don't know if the Daily Post is really a legit thing or what. I don't really follow that but it was sent to me. So as far as new players, I think you might see 1 or 2 during the summer. But look, you got to realize just totally turning over a roster doesn't happen in Major League Soccer. You don't have the mechanisms in place to just say, I'm going to just swap out a chunk of the team and bring in new players. You just can't. You can only buy out 2 contracts in a year. So if you want to get rid of, if they wanted to, for example, if they wanted to take a loss on Berterame, they could buy him out, and then we would have a designated player. You can give that to Casemiro. So, that's a possibility. I don't think it's likely to happen. I think it's more likely that if they bring in a player like Casemiro, they're potentially selling someone like Segovia. Hope get a little bit of money there, and then using that to give him a TAM deal for 1 year, so 6-month TAM deal, and then sign him to a DP contract the next year, where then you have to just figure out what are you going to do about that, right? You're going to figure out, unless he decides to take the whole Suarez deal when he takes $1.5 million for the entire length of the contract, every year, just $1.5 million. And which point we still have to find $1.5 million because they have like $17,000 in GAM. I think that's it. That's available. So flipping the team is not really going to happen. Boss Daddy says, I want a coach that knows how to use a striker. I heard some people blaming Mascherano for Suarez's, slide in quality. I don't know. Tony Miami says, do you think we will have a new coach once the Europe season ends? So, yeah, it has to happen sooner rather than later. And you don't want to play the full season with an interim coach. That's when you're really giving up. I mean, like I said, I guess we all have to ask this. How much do you think Mascherano really coached this team? Other than picking substitutions, how much is this really did he do? Or versus how much is it just rolling out the best players you have available and just depending on Messi to really get everything done? So I don't have an answer to that question. Because I'm not in the locker room or anything like that. But we can all guess that, Messi's the real boss, and that, doesn't really matter who's coaching at this point. But if we want to get to that next level, MLS Cup, great, we got that. But if you want to get to that next level and win CONCACAF Champions Cup and then do well in the Club World Cup, then you probably do need a real manager, somebody that can sit down and say, hey, Messi, no, we're doing it this way. So how much is Messi in control? I don't know. I mean, I think he's in a lot of control. As far as Nancy, going back, Eric had a comment. Pre-Messi, Nancy would have been perfect. Current Messi, it would be an unmitigated disaster. I think the players would be trying to undermine him left and right. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's not the right guy for this team with the star power and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure, but I think he's a great coach, and I would like to see us have just a really good coach, somebody that's it's not, you're not a coach just because you're Messi's buddy. At the end of the day, I want someone that can actually have that conversation with Messi, and that maybe Messi will respect. And that's where you go back to somebody like Xavi, right? Messi would respect his decisions. I would assume. A new Weissman says MLS will make it legal to have Inter Miami sign Casemiro. Yeah, maybe. look, they want Miami to be good. So, I mean, it's possible. You know, I you know, when everybody says Inter Miami cheats and Inter Miami this and that, and you know, we did get caught cheating, so I can't say we don't. And to say that the league doesn't bend rules for certain teams, they've done it throughout their entire history. So it wouldn't shock me if they bent some rules, you know. But everybody that's not Inter Miami likes to think we're bending rules and cheating, instead of just looking at creative ways of getting deals done, like the Rodrigo de Paul deal. You know, we're not the first team that did a 6-month TAM deal, and then the question mark on that one was there was no commitment to sign him, when we all know there had to have been a commitment to sign him. So Sean Callahan, as far as getting another player, says you could buy some down out of DP spot. Buying Rodrigo de Paul down to TAM is only like 2.1 or 2.3 million. Yeah, but in order to do that, we got to sell some players, because as you said, you know, here we only have that much in cash flow right now. So they got to sell some players in order to be able to do that. But yeah, that's obviously an option. A news saying, I'll never understand the Rodrigo de Paul signing. He really didn't make an impact on the team. They were better off saving that DP spot for Jordy. Agreed. Nader wants Rocco. Maybe Rocco will get a chance now. New coach, new opportunities. Francisco, as far as Xavi, says Xavi's already benched Messi in the past. So there you go. That's the kind of coach I want. I want someone who's got the balls to tell Messi to shut up. Shut up and play. Right? Just play. Do your magic. Let me coach. That's what you want. So anyways, I think that's about all we got for tonight. Just wanted to jump in here for a 30-minute show or something like that. Let you guys have your say. Give you my thoughts on the surprising news of Mascherano being, in my opinion, fired. Mascherano was fired. I don't buy the, walking away for personal reasons. I don't buy that at all. You don't walk away from this job, like Dax said, for personal reasons. I just don't buy it. All right, everybody. Let's continue this conversation in the chat on this channel. And by the way, we will have one of our one question videos, a short one question video, coming out tomorrow, but it'll be a little bit later in the day. We're going to try a new release time around 5:30 p.m. So be on the lookout for a new video near the end of your workday. And thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. See you, everybody.